Hi everyone, it's Jerry, I'm on chess.com's tactics trainer, and going to do a group of 3 puzzles without any time limit, and just share my thoughts along the way. So, in this first one, playing as white, my eye is immediately focused on this. Black has something if we're not quick. Rook takes g2. Okay, so probably a very forcing move needed for starters. Rook to a8 is not good because of bishop takes. Let's rule that out. This is a checking square, a pivot square. Bishop g5. What loose pieces are there? Okay. There we go. That question right there, asking that question, led me to this answer. The bishop on e4 is unprotected, and we have this checking move, queen h4, to pick the bishop up. That'll be simple enough then. Or will it? Or will it? So tempting, isn't it? Huh. This is actually a little bit more involved. Because after queen h4, there is the move queen e7. Yeah, queen e7, blocking the check, and also if then queen takes bishop, there is now queen takes rook. We have an unprotected piece. It is true that after queen h4, king e7, queen h4, queen e7, queen takes bishop, queen takes rook, we could then target the newly unprotected piece. Yeah, we could target the rook who is now unprotected on g8 by playing queen d5. And if king here, we do not take the rook, because we get mated with queen a1. However, queen h4, queen e7, queen takes bishop, queen takes rook, queen d5 check. If the king moves to one of the first rank squares, well, one of the 8th rank squares, we take the rook with check. The other square is to e7, in which case we don't take the rook, but rather hit black with the fork. Bishop c5. I really like this puzzle. This highlights wow, this really highlights a lot. Forks, unprotected pieces, new pieces that are unprotected as you're going through your calculations, visualizing the different pieces moving. And also, we have to recognize the threats our opponent has along the way. Yeah, this is it. Queen to h4. Queen takes bishop. Queen takes rook, and now queen here. And now we take the rook with check. And that'll be it. Yep. And it's important that on king here, we don't take the rook, because it's not being captured with check, and it's a mate in 2 for black. Queen a1, bishop blocks, queen takes bishop. King here, we would play bishop to c5 and pick up the queen. I like that puzzle. That was a good one. Let's try another. Okay. I feel confident with this one. It's my first impression. Let's see. Why do I feel so confident? It's an endgame-like position. I like the endgames. So let's see if I could get this. I know if rook check and the knight blocks, we push the pawn to d8. The knight will be pinned. We could go d7, d8. How are we looking material-wise? We're even. We have a passed pawn. On rook check, the knight does not have to block. King g7. And where do we go from there? Where are the loose pieces in this one? Rook f4. I don't really see a way that we could take advantage of this. It's not really short on squares. It could go to d4. Can't even attack it with g3. We drop the bishop, so would this really be the first move? Rook check king here. What's the great follow-up? Also, black is in a position to take this pawn and defend the knight. Oh. Interesting. Uh-huh. Okay, well, actually, this first check is good, I believe. And then on king g7, we bring the other rook into the action. Rook on 1 to e7. And this move, rook takes d6. Now there is a case of a rook being unprotected. And also, they run the risk of being in a pin. Their knight and rook are stacked here on d7 and d6. And we can then play rook to d8. If the knight budges, we simply push our pawn. So rook check, king g7, the other rook from 1 to e7, and if rook takes pawn, we play rook d8. The knight is pinned. If he moves, we grab the rook. Similarly, on rook check, king g7, rook 1 to e7, rook b7, yet again we play rook to d8. The knight is attacked, and he can't move out of the way and defend the rook because there's this c5 pawn there. So I believe that this is it. We give a check, and then we put both of our rooks on the 7th and 8th ranks. Force the knight to move, in which case we push our pawn. Our rooks will be there to support its advance. And if the knight does not move and the rook captures, then they run into a pin one way or the other. Let's do it. That is it. And now the other rook. That's correct. And then simply rook d8. And that'll be it. All right, taking advantage of a pin in that one. And let's try one more. Okay, this must be a mate problem. Okay, well, my first thought was to do this, but that's illegal. So, let's try something else. Oh, man, I see the answer. This is a cool one. This is a cool puzzle. This is a really cool puzzle. Oh, man. How did I see it? Let me try to, before I forget here. How did I come up with this answer? I believe the first move is queen g7. Wow. That's a pretty sharp move. Well, this is what ran through my mind like really quick just then. I want to be able to play to g4. This is what I thought. I looked at this move to deflect the queen off of this 5th rank, and then I thought, can we just mate with the pawns with g4? King here's the only move. g5. If the king goes to h5, now we play g4, and that's mate. It's not working because on queen c5, queen takes g4, king h6, g5. The king can play to g7. So then I thought, how can we make it such that the king cannot make use of g7? That way, our group of 3 pawns will be able to give mate all by themselves. Queen to g7 will do that. It's not check, but it's a fork. If the rook moves here to defend the queen, queen takes h7, game over. Yeah, and if black tries something like Queen to E1 looking for mate. Our queen on G7, well, we would just play G4. She controls H6. So this is a pretty serious move. And I believe it's going to play out like this. Queen G7, queen takes, G4, king H6, G5, king H5, and then finally G4. Ah, this was a good one. Yeah, this was actually a really nice group of 3. Some interesting puzzles in this group. That is it. And we go straight in for this. Very cool mate. Down a couple major pieces, but that is in fact mate. Oh man, I really like this group of 3. That first one really highlighted some neat things, recognizing those unprotected pieces, forks in a couple situations, and also being a bit careful about the threats your opponent has. Capturing a rook, threatening back rank mate in that first one. Yeah, overall, wow, this was a really nice group of 3. Feel free to share how you did in the comment section below with these 3 puzzles, and as usual, I hope you got something out of it. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.